History sometimes confronts us with such strange coincidences. An event written in a novel decades earlier becomes reality years later. Two artists from different centuries end up living on the same street. Sometimes a person survives 3 shipwrecks, while at other times a scientist's death coincides with the very mathematics of the universe. Are these stories mere coincidences or the subtle hand of destiny? Verne and his prediction. Known as the father of science fiction, Jules Verne pushed the boundaries of imagination with his famous novel, From the Earth to the Moon, published in 1865. In the story, a giant capsule named Columbiad is launched toward the moon. Exactly 104 years later, humanity succeeded in setting foot on the moon for the very first time. Remarkably, the Apollo 11 spacecraft bore the name Columbia. The name originated from NASA's public relations officer, Julian Scheer, who casually mentioned during a phone call, "We've been working on Columbia here." The phrase stuck in astronaut Michael Collins' mind. Although he initially found it a bit too grand, no better alternative came to mind. With Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin having no other suggestions either, the decision became final. Only later did Collins realize the striking similarity between Columbia and Verne's Columbiad, a true twist of fate. A novel that predicted the Titanic. When the Titanic sank in 1912, the world was shocked. Marketed as an unsinkable marvel of engineering, no one could have imagined such a tragedy. Yet in 1898, years before the Titanic disaster, author Morgan Robertson published a novel called Futility. The book told the story of a massive transatlantic liner named Titan that struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank. The parallels with the real Titanic disaster were uncanny. The size of the ship, the number of passengers, and even the insufficient lifeboats were eerily similar. The Handel-Hendricks coincidence. The Baroque composer Georg Friedrich Handel lived at 25 Brook Street in London's Mayfair district during the 17th and 18th centuries. 200 years later, at number 23 on the same street, rock legend Jimi Hendrix made his home. 2 different centuries, 2 radically different musical styles, yet the same street and surnames pronounced almost alike. Today, the 2 houses have been combined into a museum, allowing visitors to explore both Handel's Baroque legacy and Hendrix's electric rock world under one roof. Anthony Hopkins and the Lost Book. Early in his career, actor Anthony Hopkins accepted a role in the film The Girl from Petrovka. To better understand his character, he searched for the original book by George Pfeiffer, but it seemed impossible to find. One day, while walking through London, Hopkins noticed a book lying on a park bench. To his amazement, it was none other than The Girl from Petrovka. Later, during filming, Hopkins met the author himself. Pfeiffer explained that, years earlier, he had loaned his only copy to a friend who had lost it, and he no longer owned one. Hopkins produced his copy, astonishing both men when they realized it was the very same lost edition.
The Reunited Twins. In 1979, 2 39-year-old twins reunited after being separated at the age of 3. But their reunion revealed extraordinary coincidences. Both had been given the name Jim by their adoptive families. Both enjoyed carpentry and mathematics, and both worked in security. The similarities didn't stop there. Both men's first wives were named Linda, and both divorced before marrying women named Betty. Even their sons' names were nearly identical, James Allen and James Allen. This reunion remains one of the most remarkable examples of how genetics and environment can intertwine in uncanny ways. The Mystery of Eleanor Rigby. In 1957, John Lennon and Paul McCartney met at St. Peter's Church in Liverpool. That meeting led to the formation of the Beatles, forever changing music history. But in the churchyard, just a few steps away, there was also a gravestone bearing the name Eleanor Rigby. Years later, Paul McCartney wrote the song Eleanor Rigby. He claimed the name came from actress Eleanor Braun and the Bristol shop Rigby and Evans. Still, the eerie coincidence of that gravestone near the place Lennon and McCartney first met suggests there may have been a deeper, unconscious inspiration. Stephen Hawking and numbers. The life of physicist Stephen Hawking itself seemed to reflect the order of the universe he so often described. He passed away on March 14, 2018, a date of cosmic significance. It was both Albert Einstein's 139th birthday and Pi Day. Coincidence, or the universe's quiet irony? The fate of a hostess. Violet Jessop lived through what few others ever could. As a young stewardess, she first worked aboard the Olympic, which suffered a collision but did not sink. In 1912, she was aboard the Titanic and miraculously survived in lifeboat number 16. Years later, she was on the Britannic when a massive explosion occurred. Once again, she survived. Having escaped death in 3 maritime disasters, Jessop became known as the unsinkable stewardess, living on until the age of 83. Mark Twain and Halley's Comet. Famed writer Mark Twain was born in 1835, the same year Halley's Comet made one of its 76-year passes near Earth. Twain himself predicted, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835, it is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it." His prophecy came true. He died in 1910, just one day after the comet reached its closest point to Earth. Mexico and the Curse of September 19th. Mexico is a country celebrated for its culture and traditions, but it has also suffered deeply from earthquakes. On September 19, 1985, Mexico City was struck by one of the most devastating earthquakes in its history. Since then, nationwide drills have been held annually on the same date. But September 19th came to be seen as a cursed day. In both 2017 and 2022, just minutes after the annual drills, powerful earthquakes measuring above 7 on the Richter scale shook the country once again. For Mexicans, September 19th is now an unforgettable and ominous date.